The Wanderer, Book 1 of the Godsend series. Written by T.S. Clayton Smith. Narrated by Daniel Brown. Introduction. You might say that I was on an adventure beyond adventure. The captain had come to me that day and had told me that I had been chosen for a very important assignment, that it was dangerous and required using some of the old technology. "Wonder Tech?" I said boldly to the captain. "You're going to use Wonder Tech on me." "Day, the scientists have worked out the bugs and have tested this machine thoroughly. There's nothing that could go wrong with it. It's perfectly safe," he said quite convincingly. Convincing himself, that is. "Right. You know why I call it Wonder Tech, don't you? Wonder how it works. Wonder why the ancients invented it. Wonder why they used it to destroy the world. It's a wonder it's even being considered to be put back in use," I said rather rashly. "Day, that's enough. Just saying that is enough to get you destroyed for treason. I hereby order you to take on this mission before I have you hung in irons." "Aye, aye, Captain," I said reluctantly. So that was how I was forced into this journey. The Androidian medtech strapped me into the INPON unit. The blue organic metal bands pressed tightly around my ankles, wrists, and neck. At least the ancients could have padded the unit better. Maybe make the surface more like a divan, or something so I could be more comfortable. No wonder they died out as a race, those monosavian pain-mongers. They probably got pleasure out of being so uncomfortable. Well, enough bitching. On with the adventure. The respirator unit was fitted down over my chest, waist, and groin area. All that was visible were my bare legs, arms, and head. The android known as D6 shoved, and I do mean shoved, without tubes, up my nose. She, if I might call her, that, placed a facial mask over my head. It was made out of a clear, transparent metal, for which I could see everyone fine. Air was pumped through the tubes in my nose and exhaled out the mouthpiece of the unit. There was a tightening around my right arm as I felt a shot injected into it. The cold serum ran quickly through my veins. I felt the numbness flow behind the serum as each body part went dormant on its way to a sort of relaxed vacation while I went to do other things. I could hear and feel the low murmur as the unit was turned on. I didn't notice the casing being put onto the unit, but it was there now. I felt the unit taking over my body functions, as if I was being placed in a forced coma. I didn't notice the feelings of wetness as the fluid filled the casing. I just saw as it passed over the facial mask. My eyes were the last things the unit took over. All of a sudden, I was above the unit and casing. At a fast rate, I rose up above the room and the ceiling. I passed through the levels of the space station and was out in space in milliseconds. I was passed through stars, planets, comets, and nebulae. Then suddenly, I was neither here nor there. Space had no length or width. Time did not exist. I was pure energy without mass. I knew all that I had forgotten and that which I had not dreamt of yet. I was I and nothing else. It was as if I looped around and didn't know where I began or ended. I saw other forces like myself moving around the realm of nothingness. They were moving upon me. I sensed danger and was intrigued with the idea. I felt forces pulling at me. I sped across the nothingness, avoiding them. I shot forces of my own back. Masses, vectors, and forces began to fill around me. Soon I was pulled into a sea of energy. One of them shot into me, a hard mass of something, after which all went black. When I came to consciousness again, I felt cold and clammy. I had forgotten who I was, and there was sea and ocean around me, covered by the sky blue and the sun yellow. I could sense the grasses green and the soil brown. I didn't know why, but this all seemed wrong to me. Then there was flow-on energy, and blackness came over me again. When I awoke, pain was crushing my head. There was moistness around me, except I felt air at one end. The pain increased and then decreased. I felt more air and less moistness. There was a surging sound in my ears as the pain increased again, then decreased. I was blinded by light as air surrounded my head. The pain was now at my chest. I heard, "I got his head. Ease up while I pull his shoulders through." The pain decreased and something grabbed my shoulder and then tugged on it. Air rushed onto me, and the pain hit my chest again, then decreased immediately. It was as though my body was stuck somewhere, and someone was trying to pull me out. "Easy, easy. I've got to get the other shoulder out," I heard. Something grabbed my other shoulder, and whoosh, I was free. Air rushed about my body. I screamed at the coldness about me. Something was wrong, though. My scream was too high-pitched and not the words I meant to say at all, and I couldn't control my body at all. I wasn't functioning properly. I was just about to panic when I heard, "It's a boy." Section 1, Chapter 1. The road sign said 10 miles to New St. Louis. It was pitch black along the side of the road. A lone figure trekked down the highway as the cars flew past at great speed. He had the dust of the road on him, and dried blood cracked on his cheeks. His thoughts were only to get to New St. Louis as quickly as he could. A car pulled off the road. The lights burned brightly past him. All right, he muttered to himself. The lights turned on top to the car, flashing red, blue, and white. Fuck, just my luck, the cops. The lone figure turned around and walked back to the car. That's far enough, came a voice over the loudspeaker. The lone figure stopped dead in his tracks. A single figure got out of the car and came in front of it. Car trouble? Asked the officer. You could say that, answered the drifter. You offering a ride, officer? Don't get smart, he directed, then ordered, License. The drifter reached slowly into his pocket and pulled out a license. He handed it out so the officer could reach it. The officer took 2 steps forward and took it. He shined a flashlight on the license, then on the face of the drifter. Texas? You're a ways from home, aren't you? Mr. Rychek, is it? He said as he looked at the license. You don't know how far. Rychek smiled at him in his best Jack Nicholson smile. I see. Okay, get in the car, the officer ordered rather than acknowledged. Rychek moved towards the passenger side of the car. The officer watched him move to the corner side of the car, then followed, opening the door for him. Rychek got in, and the officer shut the door. The officer got in on the other side. The car was like the inside of a jet, with LCDs and LEDs everywhere. There were computer links in the center console, and Rychek could tell that the system connected to the World Network system. The officer hit 2 buttons on the panel in front of him. What program? The computer spoke in a dry, feminine voice. Identification, the officer spoke commandingly. A panel came down in front of Rychek, just above knee level. Another device came down in front of Rychek's eyes. He held his head still, anticipating the next order as if he had been through this 100 times before. Put your fingertips on the panel in front of you, the officer ordered. Rychek complied by placing his already outstretched fingers on the panel. Identification program in progress, spoke the computer. There was a flash of light. Rychek flinched as if someone had just shocked him with a bug zapper. Retina scan completed, the computer informed. The surge from the panel was light and purple electronic waves. Rychek felt a small prick on his index finger as the ultraviolet light flashed across his hands. DNA completed, the feminine voice of the computer reported. Fingerprint scan complete. Insert license. The officer put the license in a slot designed for it, making sure the microchip side was up. There was a flash of light from the slot. Identification complete. Suspect UEBI agent Earl Buddy Rychek, currently on assignment. Classification top secret. Agent Rychek will report to the nearest communications center for debriefing and update. Officer Claiborne, you are relieved of current duty and are now at Agent Rychek's command. What? Claiborne said surprisingly. No further data necessary, clicked the rather dry, feminine, computerized voice. Well, kid, it looks like your ass is mine for the moment. On to the communications center, James. Rychek smiled broadly at Claiborne, a broad, evil smile. Section 1, Chapter 2. I was passing through the darkest side of town. I certainly wasn't dressed for the occasion. My leather coat was too tight, and the t-shirt I was wearing wasn't made for Chicago winters. The wind whipped through me like icy needles. My blue jeans were tight to me, as if I had been wearing them a long time, which I had. My sandaled feet didn't protect me from the snow that was falling. I had only a small amount of time when the UEBI came to my door. I grabbed what I could and made out across the Arizona coastline where I had made my home. I couldn't believe what was happening to me. Only a few days ago I was basking in the sun on the Arizona coast, watching the whales play in the San Andreas Channel, thinking of the girl I was going to marry and the new life that I was going to lead. I just couldn't believe that her and her family are all dead now, just because of me. The UEBI wiped them all out like exterminating insects. Why was I so important to them? I don't know. Maybe it was what I could do. My mom had called it a God-given gift, while my dad had called it miracles. The villagers in the small village of Monroe, where I grew up, called it devil's worship and said that I was possessed thanks to the local preacher. Then there were the voices in my head that had shown up about my 5th birthday. I fell back against the brick wall that I was passing. Sweat poured from me. I felt scared and alone. Then, Day? I kept quiet. I held my breath. It would stop soon. Day? The voice in my head said again. Day? How's it going? A second voice said. He's still not responding, sir. I am sure we're on the right wavelength. I see. Keep trying for one more minute of this wavelength, then try another. I know he's down there. He's that planet's only hope. We've got to find him. Aye, sir. Day? The voices soon faded out. Who was this Day they were trying to reach anyway? My name is Kirk Alexander Doyle. Section 1, Chapter 3. At the UEBI Communication Center in New St. Louis, two travel-weary figures had just walked in the door. Hi, Delora. I've brought in Agent Rychek, UEBI, interrupted Rychek, flashing his badge. Yes, sir, Agent Rychek. Program's Ops is waiting for you, Delora said. Go right in. Delora was a very attractive blonde, about 5'6", with a body that wouldn't quit. Claiborne walked up to her. Say, Delora, I was thinking, Saturday night, how about you and I? You're not going to have time for that, kid, Rychek spoke up. Come on. Claiborne came after him as Rychek was walking forcefully down the hall. What do you mean I'm not going to have time for that? Look, I brought you here, and I am sure that's all I am going to have to do for you. Shut up and give me your card. What? Are you deaf as well as stupid? I said shut up! Give me your card. Claiborne handed over his card reluctantly. Rychek fed it through the card reader. The door opened to program Ops. They both went in as Rychek held onto the card as the door shut behind them. Identification, commanded a booming voice from the wall. Here, kid, feed both the cards in the slot. Rychek handed Claiborne his card. Both? You still got my card. Hurry up before the lasers burn us into smoldering ashes. Claiborne fed his card in nervously as he fumbled for Rychek's card before feeding it through. Ah, Agent Rychek and Officer Claiborne, glad that you're here. The voice spoke from the wall. Agent Rychek, report. Where's Agent John Rayburn? Dead, sir. Killed in action trying to recover Kirk Alexander Doyle, sir. And Doyle? I am on his trail, sir. Good. I have some new data for you. The voice sounded as the wall lit up and pictures came across it. This is a man who claims Doyle cured him of blindness, or some other such nonsense. This sighting was in Champaign, Illinois. The voice paused. From now on, your orders have changed. Pick up Doyle as quickly as you can and bring him to New Miami headquarters for questioning. Hush up any sightings of him by any means you see necessary. I don't care how, and I don't want to know, see? We don't want the spread of rumors of a messiah going around. You know as well as I do that if that happens, we'll both be fighting for our lives in the streets as these worthless peasants are looking for any reason to revolt. Got it, sir. Claiborne? Yes, sir? You're now activated as a UEBI agent. Your orders are the same as Rychek's, except that you're in his command. But, sir, I'm not trained in these matters. No buts. You're quite capable of doing this. Just think of it as on-the-job training. Yes, sir. Now both of you nip this thing in the butt quickly as possible. The future of the world as we know it lays its filthy self in your hands alone. Don't fail. Now get your cards and get your asses on the road. Yes, sir, they both said it at the same time. Get the cards, kid, Rychek ordered Claiborne. Claiborne got the cards, and they exited the room.